Hello everyone, welcome to the What If Anime YouTube channel. Today, we are diving into an exciting new story that will take your imagination to the next level. Let's get started. What if Naruto became a sage before becoming a ninja? The summer heat pressed down on Konoha like a smothering blanket, shimmering in waves above the dusty streets. Most villagers had retreated indoors, seeking refuge from the merciless sun. All except for one small figure. Perched high atop the weathered head of the fourth Hokage on the great stone monument, 8-year-old Naruto Uzumaki sat with his knees pulled to his chest, his shock of unruly blonde hair catching the sunlight like a beacon. Sweat trickled down his neck, darkening the collar of his already dirty white t-shirt. His bright blue eyes, usually alight with mischief, were strangely solemn as they gazed over the village sprawled below, a village that had never embraced him. "Stupid villagers," he muttered, throwing a pebble with surprising force, watching it disappear into the empty air. "Stupid Hokage. Stupid everyone." The sting of today's rejection still burned fresh. He'd only wanted to join the other kids playing ninja in the park. Was that so much to ask? But the parents had shooed him away with those same cold, fearful eyes. Those eyes that always seemed to say, "We know what you are, even if you don't." A cool breeze suddenly whipped around him, offering momentary relief from the heat. Naruto closed his eyes, letting it ruffle through his hair. For just a second, he could have sworn he heard something in that breeze, a whisper, calling his name. "Great, now I'm hearing things," he grumbled, flopping onto his back. The sky above was painfully blue, unmarred by clouds. Just what I need. The village already thinks I'm crazy, but there it was again, Naruto, carried on the wind, so faint he might have imagined it. He sat up abruptly, heart thumping against his ribs. "Hello?" he called out, feeling foolish but unable to ignore the prickling sensation at the back of his neck. "Is someone there?" Only silence answered him, but the breeze picked up again, stronger this time. It swept around his small body like invisible hands, tugging at his clothes, seemingly trying to pull him toward the dense forests surrounding Konoha. Naruto frowned, his eyes narrowing as he studied the distant tree line. The forest beyond the village proper was forbidden territory for children, especially for someone like him, who already had the Hokage and half the village watching his every move. But the whisper came again, "Naruto, come," and something inside him resonated with it, like the striking of a bell he'd never known existed within his chest. "This is stupid," he told himself, even as he clambered to his feet. Really, really stupid. But being stupid had never stopped Naruto Uzumaki before. If anything, it was his specialty. With one last glance at the village that had never wanted him, he began making his way down the monument, an inexplicable feeling of destiny pulling him forward. The forest engulfed him like another world, a realm of deep shadows and dappled light, where the summer heat transformed into humid, breathing stillness. Naruto moved cautiously at first, conscious of the invisible line he'd crossed into forbidden territory. But with each step, his anxiety melted away, replaced by a strange sense of belonging he never felt within the village walls. "Hello?" he called again, his voice swallowed by the vastness around him. "Anyone there?" "I heard you calling me." Something rustled in the underbrush ahead. Naruto froze, suddenly remembering all the stories of dangerous beasts that lurked in these woods. His heart hammered in his chest as he took a halting step backward. A small, copper-colored toad hopped onto the path before him. Naruto blinked, then let out a nervous laugh. "Just a stupid toad," he muttered, the tension draining from his shoulders. The toad cocked its head, regarding him with unusual intelligence in its golden eyes. "Who are you calling stupid, boy?" it asked in a gruff voice. Naruto yelped, stumbling backward and landing hard on his backside. "Why you talked? Toads don't talk, and humans don't usually hear the forest calling," the toad countered, hopping closer. Yet here we are. Naruto's mouth opened and closed several times before he managed to form words. "That was you? Calling me?" The toad made a sound that might have been a snort. "Not me specifically. The forest itself. The natural energy. It's been trying to reach you for some time now." "Natural energy?" Naruto repeated, his face scrunching in confusion. "You really don't know anything, do you?" The toad sighed. "I suppose that's to be expected." The humans of your village have done their best to keep you ignorant. Something flared in Naruto's chest, a mixture of indignation and painful recognition of truth. Hey, I'm not ignorant. I'm going to be Hokage someday, believe it. The toad seemed to study him more closely. Hokage? Is that what you think your destiny is? Of course, Naruto declared, climbing back to his feet and dusting himself off. Everyone will acknowledge me then. The toad circled him slowly. And why do you seek acknowledgement so desperately? The question caught Naruto off guard. No one had ever asked him that before. Everyone in the village just assumed he was an attention-seeking troublemaker. Because, he began, then faltered. Because without it, it's like I don't exist. Like I'm not even real. Something softened in the toad's gaze. Come with me, Naruto Uzumaki. There's someone who wants to meet you. Naruto's eyes widened. You know my name? The forest knows your name. The toad replied cryptically, already hopping away down the path. It has known it since before you were born. Curiosity overwhelming caution. Naruto followed, pushing deeper into the woods, unaware that his first steps toward becoming a sage had already begun. The path wound ever deeper into the forest, narrowing until it was barely more than a game trail. Sunlight filtered through the dense canopy in thin, golden shafts, illuminating dancing particles of dust and pollen. The air grew thicker, thrumming with a strange energy that Naruto could feel but not identify, like standing too close to a powerful electrical current. Where are we going? He asked for what must have been the 10th time, swatting at a mosquito on his arm. The toad, who had introduced himself as Kosuke, merely repeated his now familiar response. To the heart. Be patient, Naruto huffed, wiping sweat from his brow. We've been walking for hours. If this is some kind of trick, it is no trick, Kosuke interrupted. But it is a test. When you're currently failing with your incessant whining, Naruto opened his mouth to retort but was struck silent as they emerged suddenly into a clearing unlike anything he had ever seen. A perfect circle of towering trees surrounded a small, still pond that gleamed like polished silver in the late afternoon light. The ground was carpeted with moss so vibrant it seemed to glow from within, studded with tiny white flowers that emanated a sweet, otherworldly scent. The entire clearing pulsed with that same electrical feeling, but amplified 100-fold, making the hair on Naruto's arms stand on end. Whoa! He breathed, turning in a slow circle, trying to absorb the impossible beauty all around him. The heart of the forest, Kosuke announced, his gruff voice gentler now. Few humans have ever laid eyes on this place. It's amazing, Naruto whispered, afraid that speaking too loudly might shatter the perfection surrounding him. A deep, rumbling voice answered from the far side of the clearing. It is more than amazing, young one. It is sacred. Naruto spun toward the voice, his heart leaping into his throat. Seated on a flat stone beside the pond was the largest toad he had ever imagined. Easily the size of a small house, with skin the color of weathered bark and eyes like ancient amber. A pipe was clenched between its enormous lips, and wisps of sweet-smelling smoke curled around its broad face. Giant talking toad! Naruto exclaimed, pointing a trembling finger. A deep, throaty chuckle rolled across the clearing. Indeed. And you are a tiny, loud human. Now that we've established these obvious facts, perhaps we can move on to more important matters. Kosuke hopped forward. Lord Fukasaku, this is the boy I told you about. The one the forest has been calling, the giant toad. Lord Fukasaku studied Naruto with eyes that seemed to see through flesh and bone, straight into the core of him. Naruto fought the urge to squirm under that penetrating gaze. Yes, Fukasaku said finally. I see it now. The potential. The lineage. And of course, the beast within. Naruto blinked. Beast? What beast? Fukasaku exchanged a look with Kosuke. You truly don't know. They've kept you more ignorant than we realized. I'm not ignorant. Naruto protested again, his cheeks flushing with anger and embarrassment. Stop saying that, then tell me, child. Fukasaku challenged gently. Why do the villagers shun you? Why do they whisper behind your back and pull their children away when you approach? The question hit Naruto like a physical blow. He stared at the ground, his small hands clenching into fists at his sides. I don't know, he admitted, his voice barely audible. I've always been alone. For as long as I can remember. The old man Hokage visits sometimes, but everyone else. He trailed off, unable to articulate the lifetime of rejection condensed into his 8 short years. And have you never wondered why? Fukasaku pressed. Naruto looked up, his blue eyes suddenly fierce despite the moisture gathering at their corners. Of course I have. Every single day. But nobody will tell me. They just look at me with those cold eyes. Fukasaku nodded slowly. The time has come for you to know the truth, Naruto Uzumaki. About who you are. About what you carry within you. And about the destiny that awaits you. A destiny far greater than becoming the leader of a single hidden village. The great toad tapped his pipe against the stone, emptying its contents, then fixed Naruto with that penetrating amber gaze once more. You are the Jinchuriki of the nine-tailed fox, the Kyuubi. 8 years ago, that mighty demon attacked your village. Unable to defeat it, the fourth Hokage sealed it within a newborn child. That child was you. The words hung in the clearing like physical things, heavy and immovable. Naruto stood frozen, his mind struggling to process their meaning. A demon? He finally managed, his voice cracking. Inside me? Not just any demon. Fukasaku corrected. The most powerful of the tailed beasts. A being of immense chakra and ancient knowledge. Naruto's hand unconsciously moved to his stomach, where he now realized the strange spiral mark he'd always had must be the seal. Is that why everyone hates me? He whispered. They fear what they do not understand. Fukasaku said gently. They cannot separate the container from what it contains. It is the folly of humans to fear difference, to reject what challenges their understanding of the world. Hot tears spilled down Naruto's cheeks, but he didn't bother wiping them away. A lifetime of unanswered questions suddenly had an answer that both devastated and strangely validated him. He wasn't crazy. He wasn't imagining the hatred. It was real, and it had a reason. But the beast is not all that you are, Naruto. Fukasaku continued. Just as it called us to you, the natural energy of this world has been calling to you. It recognizes in you a rare potential, the potential to become a true sage. Naruto blinked away his tears, confused again. A sage? What's that? Fukasaku smiled, revealing rows of pointed teeth. A sage is one who can harness the natural energy of the world itself, a power far more ancient and fundamental than the chakra techniques your village's ninjas wield. It is a path few can walk, for it requires perfect balance between physical energy, spiritual energy, and the natural energy that flows through all living things. And you think I can do that? Naruto asked, his voice small. I know you can. Fukasaku replied with certainty. It is in your blood, though you do not yet know your lineage. But more importantly, it is in your spirit. You have spent your life seeking balance, trying to find your place in a world that rejected you. That struggle has prepared you, in ways you cannot yet comprehend, for the path of the sage. The great toad extended one enormous webbed hand. In his palm sat a small, tightly furled scroll, bound with golden thread. This choice must be yours, Naruto Uzumaki. Return to your village, pursue your dream of becoming Hokage, and perhaps one day earn the acknowledgement you seek. Or stay here, learn the ways of sage arts, and discover a power and purpose beyond anything your village could offer you. Naruto stared at the scroll, then at his own small hands. The revelation about the nine tails still echoed in his mind, reshaping everything he thought he knew about himself and his life. If I stay, will I ever go back to the village? He asked quietly. That too will be your choice, Fukasaku answered. But the path of the sage is not a short one. It would be years before you could return, years away from the cold stares, years away from the whispers, years away from the soul-crushing loneliness of being surrounded by people who wished he didn't exist, but also years away from Ichiraku Ramen, years away from the Hokage who, despite his distance, had always been kind. Years away from his dream of proving himself to everyone who had ever doubted him. Naruto took a deep breath, squared his small shoulders, and looked Fukasaku directly in the eyes. I want to understand, he said firmly. About the nine tails. About this sage stuff. About everything. I'm tired of not knowing why my life is the way it is. He stepped forward and, with only a moment's hesitation, took the scroll from Fukasaku's massive palm. I'll do it. I'll become a sage. And then, when I'm ready, I'll go back to Konoha and show them all who Naruto Uzumaki really is. Fukasaku's rumbling laugh filled the clearing. Well spoken, young one. Your training begins now. As if responding to his decision, the forest around them seemed to exhale, sending a warm breeze swirling through the clearing. The tiny white flowers released their pollen into the air, creating a glittering cloud that danced around Naruto's small figure. For the first time that he could remember, Naruto felt the weight of loneliness lift from his shoulders. Here, in this strange, magical clearing, with these impossible talking toads, he felt something he had never experienced before. He felt like he belonged. Dawn broke over the heart of the forest, painting the still pond with streaks of rose and gold. Naruto sat cross-legged on a flat stone by the water's edge, his eyes closed, his breathing slow and deliberate. For 2 weeks, this had been his morning ritual, sitting in absolute stillness as the world awakened around him. And for 2 weeks, he had utterly failed at it. I'm bored! He finally exploded, flopping backward onto the moss with an exaggerated groan. When are we going to learn some cool techniques? You know, like shooting water from my mouth or summoning giant toads to crush my enemies? Kosuke, perched on a nearby stone, croaked in disapproval. This is why human children make terrible students. Always wanting to run before they can crawl. Naruto scowled up at the canopy. I've been crawling for 2 weeks. Just sitting here, doing nothing. You haven't been doing nothing. Came the patient voice of Ma, Fukasaku's wife and Naruto's primary instructor in these early days. The elderly female toad hopped onto Naruto's chest, her weight surprisingly substantial for her small size. You've been learning to listen. To what? Naruto demanded. The sound of my brain melting from boredom? Ma sighed, her wrinkled green face the very picture of long-suffering patience. To the world around you, child. To the whisper of the leaves, the psalm of the pond, the conversation of the insects. To the pulse of natural energy that flows through all living things. Naruto crossed his arms over his chest, dislodging Ma in the process. Well, I can't hear any of that stuff. Maybe I'm just not cut out for this sage business. Perhaps not, Ma agreed mildly, retaking her position on his chest. Perhaps we were wrong about you. Hey! Naruto protested, sitting up so quickly that Ma had to leap to safety. I didn't say I was giving up. I just don't see the point of all this sitting around. The point, interjected Fukasaku, appearing at the edge of the clearing, is that sage chakra is fundamentally different from regular chakra. It cannot be forced or manipulated through sheer will or desire. It must be invited, welcomed, allowed to flow naturally through a vessel that has learned perfect stillness. Naruto's brow furrowed. But you said I already have chakra, right? From the Nine Tails thing. Indeed. Fukasaku nodded. And that presents both an advantage and a challenge. Your chakra reserves are exceptionally large for one so young. But they are also chaotic, untamed, and heavily influenced by the beast within you. So what do I do about that? Naruto asked, genuinely curious despite his frustration. Fukasaku smiled approvingly at the question. First, you must become aware of your own energy, both your physical energy and your spiritual energy. Only then can you begin to identify the natural energy around you and learn to blend the three together. And that's what will make me a sage? Naruto clarified. That is the beginning. Fukasaku corrected. The path of the sage is lifelong. But yes, learning to harness natural energy is the foundation of sage arts. Naruto sighed, then flopped back onto the moss again. Fine. I'll keep trying. But can't you at least give me a hint? How am I supposed to feel this energy stuff? Ma and Fukasaku exchanged glances. Then Ma hopped forward, placing one web hand on Naruto's forehead. Close your eyes, she instructed. And this time, instead of trying to hear the world around you, try to feel the world within you. Naruto obeyed, his face scrunched in concentration. Not so tense. Ma chided gently. Relax your body. Relax your mind. Just be. It was possibly the hardest instruction anyone had ever given the hyperactive boy. Just be? Naruto had spent his entire life doing, running, shouting, pranking, striving, anything to make sure the world couldn't ignore him. The concept of simply existing, without action or intention, was utterly foreign to him, but he tried. For Ma, who had shown him more maternal kindness in 2 weeks than he'd experienced in his entire life. For Fukasaku, who spoke to him with respect and believed in his potential. For all the Toad Elders of Mount Maiboku, where he now resided, having been reverse summoned there after his decision in the heart of the forest. Gradually, his breathing slowed. The perpetual furrow between his brows smoothed out. His small body sank deeper into the soft moss beneath him. Good, Ma murmured. Now look inward. What do you see? Naruto's consciousness turned inward, exploring the landscape of his own being. At first, there was only darkness, the familiar void he'd spent his life trying to fill with noise and mischief. But as he settled deeper into stillness, something began to take shape within that void. I see light, he whispered. Blue light. Like fire, but not hot. It's moving all the time, never still. That is your chakra, Ma confirmed. What else do you notice about it? Naruto's face scrunched slightly as he focused. It's not all the same. Some of it is brighter, wilder. And some is darker, angry feeling. It doesn't mix well. The brighter energy is your own. Fukasaku explained softly, not wanting to break Naruto's concentration. The darker, angrier energy belongs to the Nine Tails. Naruto's eyes flew open, his concentration shattered. It's in there? I can actually feel it, of course, Ma said. The beast is part of you, has been since the day you were born. Its chakra and yours are intertwined, though they remain distinct. Naruto sat up slowly, a troubled expression on his young face. Will I ever have to meet it? The Nine Tails? Fukasaku nodded gravely. Eventually, yes. To truly master your own chakra, you must confront what lies within you. But that is a challenge for another day, far in the future. For now, simply being aware of its presence is enough. Naruto swallowed hard, then nodded, his expression determined. Okay. I want to try again. I want to feel my own chakra better, so I know what's mine and what's not. Ma smiled approvingly. That is wisdom beyond your years, child. Yes, let us try again. As Naruto settled back into his meditative position, a figure watched silently from the shadows at the edge of the clearing. A white-haired man with red facial markings and a Konoha forehead protector. Jiraiya, the Toad Sage, had arrived on Mount Maiboku 3 days earlier, summoned by Fukasaku with urgent news. The Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails, the son of Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki, had been called by the natural energy of the world and had begun training in the sage arts. At 8 years old, the implications were staggering. No one so young had ever undertaken sage training. Most adult ninja lacked the necessary chakra control and spiritual awareness to even begin the process. Yet here was this child, this loud, impatient, undisciplined child, already sensing his own chakra, already distinguishing it from the Nine Tails. Remarkable, isn't he? Fukasaku spoke softly, suddenly appearing beside Jiraiya. Jiraiya nodded, his eyes never leaving the small blonde figure. He looked so much like Minato it hurts to look at him. But that temperament. A smile tugged at his lips. Pure Kushina, the third Hokage will be searching for him. Fukasaku noted. What will you tell him when you return to Konoha? Jiraiya's expression turned serious. The truth. The boy was called to the sage path. Trying to interfere with that calling would be unwise. And the council? The elders? Will they accept the loss of their Jinchuriki so easily? A shadow passed over Jiraiya's face. No, they won't. But they don't need to know where he is, only that he's safe and that the seal is stable. And is it? Fukasaku asked, glancing at Naruto. The seal, I mean. From what I can tell, yes. Minato's work was exceptional, as always. But, Jiraiya frowned. The sage training will affect it. Natural energy interacting with the Nine Tails chakra. There's no precedent for that. We'll need to monitor him closely, hence your presence. Fukasaku nodded, hence my presence. Jiraiya agreed. Though I can't stay indefinitely. I have my network to maintain, and Konoha will need intelligence on how the other nations react to the disappearance of the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. A comfortable silence fell between them as they watched Naruto, who had managed to return to his meditative state, his small face peaceful for once. Do you think he can do it? Jiraiya finally asked. Truly master the sage arts? Even I've never achieved perfect sage mode, Fukasaku chuckled softly. That boy? He will either become the greatest sage the world has ever known, or he will blow up the mountain trying. There seems to be very little middle ground with Naruto Uzumaki, Jiraiya laughed under his breath. Just like his mother, indeed. But there is something else in him, too. A quality I've rarely seen. Fukasaku's ancient eyes softened as he gazed at the boy. A kind of unbreakable spirit. The kind that bends but never breaks, no matter how fierce the storm. That, Jiraiya said quietly. He got from both of them. Weeks turned into months. Summer faded into autumn, and the forests of Mount Myaboku transformed into a riot of crimson and gold. Each day, Naruto rose before dawn, meditated until breakfast, trained in basic physical techniques until lunch, studied scrolls on chakra theory until dinner, then meditated again until sleep claimed him. It was a rigorous schedule for a child his age, but the structure gave him something he never had in Konoha: purpose. Every day had meaning. Every lesson built on the last. And most miraculous of all, the toads treated him with respect, with patience, sometimes even with affection. On this particular morning, Naruto sat by the edge of the sacred oil fountain, watching the golden liquid bubble and swirl. Today marked a significant milestone in his training. Today, he would attempt to feel natural energy for the first time. Are you sure I'm ready for this? He asked nervously as Fukasaku approached. Ma said it took you 3 years before you could even sense natural energy. Every sage's journey is different, Fukasaku replied, settling beside him. And you, Naruto Uzumaki, are unlike any student I have ever trained. Naruto beamed at the praise. Really? Because I'm so awesome, right? Fukasaku chuckled. Because you are so contradictory. In some ways, you are the least suited to the sage path. Impatient, impulsive, always in motion. Yet in other ways, you are perfectly suited to it. Your capacity for empathy, your intuitive understanding of the world's interconnectedness, your sheer stubborn determination. These are the qualities of a true sage. Naruto rubbed the back of his neck, unaccustomed to such thoughtful praise. Usually, the elders' compliments were more along the lines of, well, you didn't blow anything up today. Or, at least you didn't fall asleep during meditation this time. So what do I have to do? He asked, gesturing to the oil fountain. Just stick my hand in there or what? Patience, Fukasaku cautioned. The sacred oil is merely a conduit, a way to help you recognize natural energy more easily. But it comes with great risk. If you draw in too much natural energy without properly balancing it with your physical and spiritual energies. I know, Naruto interrupted. I'll turn into a toad statue and you'll have to stick me in that creepy garden with all the other failures. Fukasaku raised an eyebrow. You say that very casually for someone about to risk petrification. Naruto grinned, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. Hey, at least as a statue, I'd still be more interesting than I was back in Konoha. The elderly toad's expression softened. Though Naruto rarely spoke of his life in the Hidden Leaf Village, the wound of rejection clearly still festered beneath his cheerful exterior. Very well, Fukasaku said, gesturing to the oil. Just the tips of your fingers, no more. And the moment you feel something, anything, unusual, withdraw immediately. Naruto nodded seriously, then extended his right hand toward the bubbling golden liquid. Just before his fingers made contact, he hesitated, glancing at Fukasaku. You'll stop me if I start turning into a toad, right? I will, the great sage promised. But I don't believe that will happen. Trust your instincts, Naruto. They have not led you astray yet. Taking a deep breath, Naruto dipped his fingertips into the sacred oil. The effect was instantaneous and overwhelming. A surge of energy unlike anything he had ever experienced shot up his arm, racing through his chakra network like lightning through a conductor. His entire body tingled, his senses sharpening to a painful degree. The bubbling of the oil sounded like thunder, The gentle breeze felt like sandpaper against his skin. The morning light burned his eyes even through closed lids. And beneath it all, a vast, ancient presence seemed to unfurl within and around him. The natural energy of Mount Mayaboku itself, acknowledging his existence, welcoming him into its embrace. "I feel it," he gasped, his eyes flying open. "I really feel it," but something was wrong. The energy wasn't stopping. It continued to pour into him, faster than he could process it, overwhelming his chakra network. A strange heaviness began to spread from his fingertips, up his arm, toward his shoulder. "Fukasaku-sensei!" he cried out in panic. I can't control it." Fukasaku moved with surprising speed for one so ancient, striking Naruto's arm with a precise blow that severed the connection to the oil. But the natural energy already inside the boy continued to rampage through his system, unchecked and unbalanced. "Focus, Naruto!" Fukasaku commanded sharply. "Remember your training. Find your own chakra, both physical and spiritual, and bring them into balance with the natural energy." Easier said than done. Naruto's consciousness was drowning in sensation, in power too vast for his young mind to comprehend. He couldn't even locate his own energy amid the tempest raging within him. And then, from the depths of that internal storm, another presence stirred, ancient, malevolent, and terrifyingly powerful. The Ninetales, awakened by the disturbance in its host's chakra network. A deep, rumbling growl echoed through Naruto's mind. "Foolish kid. You meddle with forces beyond your understanding." Naruto's eyes snapped open, but instead of their usual cerulean blue, they blazed a deep, bloody crimson. His whisker marks darkened and thickened, his canine teeth lengthened into fangs, and a shroud of malevolent red chakra began to form around his small body. "The Ninetales!" Fukasaku exclaimed, leaping backward. "Naruto, you must resist! Its chakra will corrupt the natural energy, with catastrophic results." But Naruto couldn't hear him anymore. He was elsewhere, standing ankle-deep in tepid water, in a vast, dimly lit chamber dominated by an enormous cage. Behind the bars, a pair of massive, slitted crimson eyes regarded him with ancient malice. "So," the Ninetales rumbled, its voice shaking the very foundations of the mental space they occupied. "My jailer finally deigns to pay me a visit." Naruto stared up at the monstrous fox, terror warring with fascination in his young mind. You're really inside me." All this time, the beast bared its enormous fangs in what might have been a smile or a snarl. "For 8 long years I have dwelled in this pitiful cage, watching your pathetic existence through your eyes." There was something in the fox's tone, beneath the malice and contempt, that Naruto recognized all too well. Loneliness. Resentment at being confined, at being feared, at being treated as something less than a thinking, feeling being. "That must have sucked," he said simply. The Ninetales blinked, clearly taken aback by the response. It had expected fear, or hatred, or desperate pleas, not this strange, casual empathy. "You have no idea what suffering is, human child," it growled, recovering quickly. "But you will soon discover it if you cannot control the natural energy you've so recklessly absorbed. Even now, it petrifies your flesh, turning you to stone from the inside out." Naruto's eyes widened as he remembered the situation in the physical world. "How do I stop it?" The fox laughed, a sound like boulders grinding together. "Why would I help you? If you die, I will eventually reform. Perhaps my next jailer will be less of a fool." Naruto's small fists clenched at his sides, fear giving way to determination. Outside, his body was turning to stone, but in here, in this strange mindscape, he could still fight. "Listen, you stupid fox," he snapped, his voice echoing through the cavernous chamber. "I didn't ask to be your jailer. I didn't ask for any of this. But we're stuck with each other, and if I die, you'll just end up trapped in some other kid who'll probably hate you even more than I do." The Ninetales' eyes narrowed to burning slits. "Hate me? You presume much, child. You know nothing of hatred. I know more than you think." Naruto shot back, memories of cold stares and whispered insults flashing through his mind. "I know what it's like when everyone's afraid of you, when they look at you like you're a monster." Something flickered in the demon's massive eyes, surprise, perhaps, or a grudging recognition. Naruto took a step closer to the cage, water rippling around his ankles. So we can either work together, or we can both suffer. Your choice, furball. For a moment, the chamber fell so silent that Naruto could hear the drip of water from unseen pipes. Then the Ninetales threw back its enormous head and let out a sound that might have been a laugh or a roar of rage. You have courage, I'll grant you that. It growled. Very well. This once, I will aid you, not out of compassion, but out of self-interest. The fox's malevolent red chakra surged through the bars, enveloping Naruto in a burning shroud. But instead of attacking him, it seemed to be working with his own energy, creating a counterbalance to the overwhelming natural energy. My chakra is neither physical nor spiritual by human standards, the Ninetales explained, its voice rumbling through Naruto's entire being. It exists in its own domain. Use it as a buffer, a dam against the flood of natural energy. Then, once the flow is controlled, you must learn to balance it yourself. I will not always intervene, Naruto nodded, concentrating on the feeling of the fox's chakra working with his own. It burned like fire, but there was a pattern to it, a rhythm he could follow. Thank you, he whispered, the words almost lost in the roar of energy surrounding him. The Ninetales snorted. Do not thank me yet, Kit. The real battle begins now. Return to your world and master this power, or our next meeting will be far less cooperative. With that ominous promise echoing in his ears, Naruto felt himself being thrust back into his physical body. He gasped, eyes flying open to find Fukasaku staring at him in astonishment. Naruto! The elderly toad exclaimed. How did you? The petrification was spreading, but now it's receding. Naruto looked down at his arm, which had turned gray and stone-like up to the elbow. Now color and movement were returning, the transformation reversing itself before their eyes. I had help, he admitted, flexing his fingers as feeling returned to them. From the Ninetales, Fukasaku's expression grew grave. You spoke with the demon? That is unexpected. And concerning, maybe, Naruto said, a thoughtful expression unusual for his young face. But also kind of. I don't know, right? I mean, we're stuck together. Might as well try to get along. The Ninetales is not some schoolyard bully to befriend, Naruto, Fukasaku warned. It is a being of immense power and ancient hatred. It cannot be trusted. Naruto shrugged, a gesture too world-weary for his 8 years. Maybe not, but it helped me this time. And I think I understand it a little better now. He looked down at his hands, still tingling with the after effects of 3 different energies coursing through them. It's alone. Like I was. Maybe that's why it's so angry all the time. Fukasaku studied him with renewed interest. Perhaps there is even more to you than we thought, Naruto Uzumaki. Few would look upon a tailed beast with empathy rather than fear. Fear doesn't solve anything, Naruto said simply. I should know. The whole village was afraid of me, and all it did was make everyone miserable, especially me. A small smile tugged at Fukasaku's wide mouth. Wisdom from the mouth of a child. Come, that's enough training for today. You've had a momentous experience, and your body needs rest. But as they walked back toward the Toad Village, Naruto couldn't stop thinking about those massive red eyes behind the bars. There had been something in them beyond hatred and rage, something ancient and wounded and, perhaps, not entirely beyond reaching. On the other side of the world, in the Hokage's office in Konoha, the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, stood at the window, gazing out over the village with troubled eyes. Before him on the desk lay a report, the latest in a long string of failed attempts to locate one Naruto Uzumaki, missing for nearly 4 months now. Nothing, he murmured, the weight of failure heavy in his voice. Not a single trace. Behind him, a silver-haired ANBU with a dog mask knelt respectfully. We've expanded the search parameters as you ordered, Lord Hokage. Teams have been dispatched to all neighboring countries, but the trail has gone cold. Hiruzen finished for him. Or perhaps there never was a trail to begin with. The ANBU, Kakashi Hatake, remained silent, though his fists clenched imperceptibly at his sides. The son of his sensei, the boy he should have protected, had vanished without a trace. Another failure to add to his growing collection. A knock at the door interrupted the heavy silence. Enter, Hiruzen called. Jiraiya strode in, his usual boisterous demeanor subdued. You summoned me, old man? Hiruzen nodded to Kakashi, who disappeared in a swirl of leaves, leaving the two old comrades alone. 4 months, Jiraiya, the Hokage said without preamble. 4 months, and not a single sign of the boy. The council is growing restless. They speak of the Nine Tails falling into enemy hands, of catastrophic possibilities. The council can shove their catastrophic possibilities where the sun doesn't shine. Jiraiya replied bluntly, dropping into a chair. The boy is safe. The Nine Tails is secure. That's all they need to know. Hiruzen's head snapped up, shrewd eyes narrowing. You know where he is. It wasn't a question. Jiraiya met his former teacher's gaze steadily. I do, and yet you've said nothing for 4 months. Hiruzen's voice was dangerously calm. While we've expended countless resources, while the village has been on high alert, while I've barely slept wondering if Minato's son is alive or dead, a flicker of guilt crossed Jiraiya's face, but he held firm. I couldn't tell you, couldn't or wouldn't? Hiruzen challenged. Both, Jiraiya admitted. The boy has been called to a path that supersedes village politics, Sarutobi. A path that even you, as Hokage, have no authority to obstruct. Understanding dawned in Hiruzen's aged eyes. The toads, he breathed. Mount Mayaboku. He's with them? Jiraiya nodded. The natural energy itself called to him. Do you understand what that means? No one, not even the toads, has ever heard of someone so young being recognized by the sage energies. He's only a child. Hiruzen protested. 8 years old, a child who carries the Nine Tails. Jiraiya countered. A child with Uzumaki vitality and Namake's potential. A child who, despite everything this village has done to break his spirit, has remained fundamentally unbroken. A rare flash of anger colored his words. Or did you think I didn't know how he was treated here? The glares, the whispers, the isolation? My godson, Sarutobi. My responsibility. And I left him in your care. Hiruzen sagged visibly, the mantle of Hokage seeming suddenly too heavy for his aged shoulders. I did what I could, Jiraiya. The laws I enacted to protect his identity did nothing to protect his heart. Jiraiya finished harshly. Laws don't change minds or open hearts. That boy lived in hell while wearing the face of the very man who saved this village. The silence that followed was thick with old regrets and newer recriminations. Will he return? Hiruzen finally asked, his voice smaller than Jiraiya had ever heard it. Eventually, Jiraiya answered, his anger fading as quickly as it had flared. When he's ready. When he's mastered what the toads have to teach him. And when he does. A smile ghosted across his face. This village won't know what hit it. Hiruzen nodded slowly, then moved to his desk and pulled out a fresh scroll. I will call off the search. Officially, Naruto Uzumaki is on an extended training journey with the full knowledge and approval of the Hokage. And the council? Jiraiya pressed. Will accept my decision or find themselves reminded of exactly who is Hokage in this village. Hiruzen replied, a flash of the god of shinobi visible beneath the grandfatherly exterior. Jiraiya grinned. Now that's the old man I remember. His expression turned serious again. There's something else you should know. He's made contact with the Nine Tails. Hiruzen's brush froze mid-stroke. Already? How? The seal is intact, Jiraiya assured him. It happened during his first attempt to absorb natural energy. The fox intervened when the energy threatened to petrify him. The Nine Tails helped him. Hiruzen's disbelief was palpable. Out of self-preservation, most likely. Jiraiya shrugged. But Fukasaku reports that their interaction was unusual. The boy showed no fear, only empathy. Empathy? For the Nine Tails? Hiruzen shook his head in wonder. Naruto always did have a unique way of looking at the world, just like his mother. Jiraiya said fondly. She never did see things the way everyone else did either. A companionable silence fell between them, both men lost in memories of red hair and a laugh that could light up a room. Watch over him, Jiraiya, Hiruzen finally said. Not as a spy for Konoha, but as his godfather. That boy may someday change the world in ways we can scarcely imagine. Jiraiya nodded solemnly. I intend to. And I'll make sure he knows about them, Minato and Kushina. Not the Hokage and the Jinchuriki, but the man and woman who loved him enough to die for him. As Jiraiya left the Hokage's office, the sun broke through the clouds over Konoha, casting long shadows across the Hokage monument. Just for a moment, the stone face of the fourth seemed to smile. The seasons turned with the silent precision of ancient clocks. Winter blanketed Mount Myaboku in crystalline silence, then gave way to the riotous rebirth of spring. Summer blazed briefly, autumn painted the world in fire, and winter returned once more. And so the cycle continued, marking the passage of time as Naruto grew in both stature and skill. 3 years had passed since that first tumultuous contact with natural energy. 3 years of rigorous training, of countless failures and hard-won victories, of gradually expanding the boundaries of what was possible for a young Jinchuriki studying the sage arts. Now 11, Naruto stood at the edge of Todoa Lake, no longer the scrawny, neglected child who had stumbled into the heart of the forest. He had grown several inches taller, his once gaunt frame filled out with lean muscle. His wild blonde hair was longer now, perpetually windblown despite Ma's best efforts to tame it. But the most striking change was in his eyes, still the same vibrant blue, but deeper somehow, reflecting wisdom beyond his years. Again, he muttered to himself, settling into the familiar meditative stance. Focus. With practiced ease, he drew natural energy into his body, his chakra network welcoming it, guiding it, balancing it with his physical and spiritual energies. The transformation came swiftly now, his eyes shifting from blue to golden with horizontal bar-like pupils, orange pigmentation appearing around his eyes like a mask, perfect sage mode. A state he could now maintain for nearly 10 minutes, an unprecedented achievement for someone his age. Impressive. Came a deep voice from behind him. But can you maintain it while moving? Naruto grinned without turning around, recognizing Jiraiya's chakra signature instantly. The Toad Sage had become a regular presence in his life over the past 3 years, appearing sporadically between his intelligence-gathering missions, always bringing stories of the outside world and, occasionally, cups of instant ramen that Naruto hoarded like precious treasures. Watch me, pervy sage? Naruto challenged, using the nickname he bestowed upon discovering Jiraiya's penchant for research, involving hot springs and unsuspecting women. In a blur of motion that would have been impossible for most jonin to follow, Naruto launched himself across the lake, his feet barely touching the surface of the water before he was airborne again. Flipping, spinning, executing a complex series of taijutsu moves while never once losing the distinctive sage markings around his eyes. Jiraiya whistled appreciatively as Naruto landed lightly before him, still in perfect sage mode. Not bad, kid. Not bad at all. Not bad? Naruto protested, though his grin took the sting from his words. I'm amazing, and you know it, Jiraiya chuckled, ruffling the boy's already chaotic hair. And so humble, too? A truly rare combination. Naruto beamed at the praise, then allowed his sage mode to dissipate, the golden eyes returning to blue, the orange markings fading from his skin. Did you bring me anything? He asked eagerly. A new jutsu scroll? Some ramen? News from Konoha? All of the above, actually. Jiraiya confirmed, dropping his hefty travel pack to the ground. But first, there's someone who wants to see you. Naruto's expression brightened even further. Gamakichi? Is he back from his training journey? He promised to teach me that water bullet technique when he... Not Gamakichi. Jiraiya interrupted, his expression turning serious. Fukasaku and Ma. They've called a council meeting, and you're the guest of honor. The smile slid from Naruto's face. In 3 years, the Toad Elders had only called a full council meeting twice. Once when he first arrived, and once after his initial contact with the Nine Tails. Both times, the meetings had resulted in major shifts in his training. What's it about? He asked warily. Jiraiya shrugged, but the casualness seemed forced. Not my place to say. Come on, they're waiting in the great chamber. Naruto followed his godfather through the winding paths of the Toad village, his mind racing with possibilities. Had he done something wrong? Was his training being cut short? Or perhaps the opposite? Were they planning to intensify it? He'd already mastered techniques that had taken Jiraiya decades to learn. What more could they possibly expect from him? The great chamber was a massive cavern at the heart of the mountain, illuminated by phosphorescent fungi that cast an eerie, greenish light over the proceedings. Tiered stone seats surrounded a central platform, and on those seats perched toads of every size and description. From tiny messenger toads no bigger than Naruto's thumb to battle toads the size of small buildings. At the highest tier sat the great toad sage, ancient beyond reckoning, his eyes milky with cataracts, his skin wrinkled like ancient parchment. Flanking him were Fukasaku and Ma, their expressions unreadable as Naruto and Jiraiya entered. "Naruto Uzumaki," intoned the great toad sage, his voice surprisingly clear for one so ancient. Step forward. Heart pounding, Naruto moved to the center of the chamber, conscious of hundreds of amphibian eyes fixed upon him. He stood tall, shoulders squared, chin lifted, a far cry from the cowering, attention-starved child who had first arrived on Mount Maiboku 3 years ago. The great sage continued, "You came to us, called by the natural energy itself. In that time, you have surpassed all expectations, mastering techniques that many spend lifetimes struggling to learn." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembled toads. Naruto felt a flush of pride, but kept his expression respectfully attentive. "But there remains a critical aspect of your training that has been deliberately delayed until this moment." The great sage leaned forward, his milky eyes somehow finding Naruto's despite his blindness. "The time has come for you to fully confront the nine-tailed fox." A cold knot formed in Naruto's stomach. Though he had encountered the demon several times in the past 3 years, brief, tense exchanges when he tapped too deeply into its chakra during training, they had established a wary détente rather than any true understanding. The Nine Tails tolerated him. It did not accept him. "Why now?" Naruto asked, his voice steady despite his apprehension. "Because the next phase of your training requires complete mastery of your own chakra," Fukasaku explained, hopping down to join him on the platform. "And so long as the Nine Tails remains an unrestrained force within you, that mastery will remain beyond your reach." "But," Naruto hesitated, searching for the right words. "It's so powerful. And angry. How am I supposed to master it?" "Not it," Ma corrected gently, joining her husband. "Him. The Nine Tails is a being with thoughts, feelings, and a history far older than any of us can comprehend. To treat him as merely a source of power to be controlled is to repeat the mistakes of those who came before you." Naruto blinked, surprised by this perspective. "So what? I'm supposed to make friends with it?" With him, a ripple of amusement passed through the council at the very idea. "Friendship may be too much to hope for," Fukasaku acknowledged. "But understanding? Recognition of mutual need? These are not beyond possibility." Jiraiya stepped forward, his expression grave. "Naruto, what we're proposing has never been attempted before. Previous Jinchuriki either suppressed their tailed beasts entirely or surrendered to them. No one has ever sought genuine cooperation, because it's a demon," Naruto protested. He destroyed half of Konoha, killed tons of people, including my own parents." A heavy silence fell over the chamber. Naruto froze as he realized what he'd said, what he wasn't supposed to know. He turned slowly to face Jiraiya, whose expression confirmed what he'd long suspected. "You knew," Naruto said quietly, accusation edging his voice. "All this time, you knew who my parents were." Jiraiya sighed heavily. "Yes. Your father was Minato Namikaze, the 4th Hokage. Your mother was Kushina Uzumaki, the previous Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. And you never told me?" Betrayal colored every word. "I was waiting for the right time," Jiraiya defended. "You were so young, and the knowledge could have been dangerous." "Dangerous?" Naruto's voice rose. "More dangerous than not knowing who I am? Than growing up thinking I was nobody, that nobody wanted me?" "Naruto," Ma interjected gently. "Your godfather has made many mistakes, as have we all. But those mistakes were born of love and concern for your well-being." "Godfather?" Naruto echoed, his eyes widening as he stared at Jiraiya. "You're my..." "You were supposed to." The implications crashed over him like a wave. Jiraiya wasn't just his teacher or some random ninja from Konoha. He was family. The family he'd spent his entire childhood desperately wishing for. and he'd left Naruto alone. "I trusted you," Naruto whispered, his voice breaking. "I thought you were different from the rest of them." Before Jiraiya could respond, a new voice cut through the charged atmosphere. Deep, rumbling, and unmistakable, though only Naruto could hear it. "Such drama," the Nine-Tails drawled. "The betrayal of adults is the most consistent thing in this world, Kit. I could have told you that centuries ago." "Shut up," Naruto muttered, hands clenching into fists at his sides. "Just, everyone shut up. I need to think." Without waiting for permission, he turned and stormed from the great chamber, leaving a stunned silence in his wake. The heart of the forest hadn't changed in 3 years. The same perfect circle of ancient trees, the same mirror-still pond, the same carpet of luminous moss and tiny white flowers. It remained Naruto's refuge, the place he came to when the pressures of training or the isolation of being the only human on Mount Myoboku became too much to bear. Now he sat cross-legged by the pond, skipping stones across its surface with more force than necessary, each plump punctuating his turbulent thoughts. "Stupid pervy sage," he muttered, sending another stone skipping. "Stupid toads." Plunk. "Stupid Nine-Tails." Plunk. "Stupid fourth Hokage dad who sealed the demon in his own son." The final stone was thrown with such force that it shattered against a boulder on the far side of the pond. "I'm insulted to be included in such mediocre company," came that rumbling voice again, silky with sarcasm. "And inaccurate. Your father did not choose to seal me and you on a whim, Kit. He was rather coerced by circumstances." Naruto stiffened. The Nine-Tails rarely initiated conversation, especially not about topics like this. "What do you mean, coerced?" he asked aloud, knowing that Fox could hear him. "Your little tantrum in the council chamber has provided an opportunity," the Nine-Tails replied, ignoring his question. "One that might benefit us both. Enter your mindscape, and I will show you what really happened the night you were born." Suspicion flared in Naruto's mind. "Why would you do that? What's in it for you?" A dark chuckle reverberated through his consciousness. "Perhaps I'm simply bored after 3 years of watching you hop around with these insufferable amphibians. Or perhaps I have my own reasons for wanting you to know the truth." Naruto hesitated. The Nine-Tails had never harmed him, had even helped him on occasion during his training, but neither had the demon ever shown any particular goodwill toward him. Every interaction had been colored by an ancient, simmering rage that made Naruto's small interactions with the beast deeply uncomfortable. But the lure of knowledge, of finally understanding what had happened on the night that had shaped his entire existence, was too strong to resist. "Fine," he decided, settling into a more comfortable meditation posture. "But no tricks, no tricks," the Nine-Tails agreed, a strange note in its voice that Naruto couldn't quite identify. "Only truth, however painful it may be." Naruto closed his eyes, focusing his consciousness inward as he had done many times before. The familiar sensation of falling washed over him, and when he opened his eyes again, he stood in that vast, dimly lit chamber with its ankle-deep water and imposing cage. But something was different. The space felt clearer somehow, less oppressive. The water was cleaner, more transparent. And beyond the massive bars, the Nine-Tails was fully visible for the first time, an enormous fox with blood-red fur and 9 majestic tails that swayed hypnotically behind its massive form. "You've redecorated," Naruto observed dryly, gesturing to the cleaner space. The fox snorted, creating ripples across the water. "Your growing mastery of Sage Chakra has had effects on this mental space. It seems natural energy cleanses more than just the body." Naruto approached the bars, less hesitant than he'd been during their first meeting 3 years ago. "You said you'd show me what happened." "When I was born," the Nine-Tails nodded, its enormous head lowering until one great crimson eye was level with Naruto's small figure. "I will do more than show you. I will let you experience it through my memories." Before Naruto could protest, a wave of chakra washed over him, and the chamber dissolved around them. When the world reformed, he was no longer himself. He was vast, powerful, filled with rage and pain and the disorienting sensation of being forcibly controlled against his will. He was the Nine-Tails, and he was being ripped from a host, from Kushina Uzumaki. Her vibrant red hair spread around her like spilled blood, her face contorted in agony as the seal on her stomach was systematically unraveled by a masked man with a single, glowing red eye. The memories shifted, fragmenting into chaos. Buildings crushed beneath massive paws, screams filling the night air, ninja falling before a rage he could not control. Through it all, that single red eye commanded him, used him as a weapon against his will. And then, clarity. A massive toad appearing in a plume of smoke, a blond man standing atop its head, his blue eyes achingly familiar. Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage, holding a newborn infant with a shock of blonde hair. Naruto felt the Nine-Tails' recognition, its fury, and beneath it all, a deep, fundamental fear. It knew what was coming. It had been sealed before, had spent decades imprisoned in human hosts. But this time was different. The fourth's hands flashed through seals of terrible power, summoning the Shinigami itself. The memory blurred with pain as the Nine-Tails was torn in half, its Yin chakra sealed away within the Shinigami, its Yang chakra forced into the tiny infant. The last thing Naruto saw through the fox's eyes was his father's face, tears streaming down his cheeks as he whispered, "Naruto, forgive me. Make us proud." Then darkness, and the sensation of being trapped once more, this time within an infant whose cries echoed through the night. Cries that went unanswered as both his parents lay dead nearby. With a gasp, Naruto returned to himself, falling backward onto the wet floor of the mindscape. His entire body trembled with the after-effects of the fox's memory. The rage, the fear, the pain, all of it overwhelmingly alien yet strangely familiar. "You!" he panted, struggling to find words. "You were being controlled by someone with a Sharingan." The Nine-Tails' massive tails lashed behind him, the only outward sign of his agitation. "Yes. An Uchiha, though not one I recognized. He extracted me from your mother, used his cursed eyes to bend me to his will, and set me loose upon Konoha. So it wasn't your fault." Naruto realized, slowly climbing back to his feet. "Not entirely. Do not mistake me for some innocent victim, kid," the fox growled. "I have hated humans for centuries, with good reason. Given freedom, I would have eventually attacked your precious village regardless. But on that night, I was as much a weapon as a sword in a murderer's hand." Naruto studied the enormous creature before him with new eyes. The Nine-Tails was no longer just a demon to be feared or a power source to be tapped. He was a being with his own traumatic history, his own grievances, his own perspective on the world. "You have a name, don't you?" Naruto asked suddenly. "Something besides Nine-Tails or Kyuubi?" The fox went utterly still, all nine tails freezing mid-motion. Its enormous eyes narrowed to slits. "What makes you think that?" Naruto shrugged. "Everything has a name. And you've been around for, well, forever, right? Someone must have given you one. Or maybe you named yourself." A long silence stretched between them, broken only by the gentle lapping of water against the walls of the chamber. "Kurama," the fox finally said, the words seeming to cost him great effort. "My name is Kurama." Naruto blinked, then broke into a wide grin. "Kurama, huh? That's actually pretty cool." The fox, Kurama, seemed taken aback by this response. "You are a strange kid, even for a human. I show you the death of your parents, reveal my role in destroying your village, and your response is to ask my name and then compliment it? Well, what did you expect?" Naruto challenged. "That I'd hate you? Blame you? What good would that do either of us? We're stuck together, right? For the foreseeable future." Kurama confirmed reluctantly. "Then we might as well try to get along," Naruto reasoned, his simple logic cutting through centuries of hatred and mistrust with the ease of a child stepping over a small puddle. "I'm not saying we have to be best friends or anything. But maybe we could. I don't know, talk sometimes?" Without all the growling and threats, Kurama studied him for a long moment, ancient eyes unreadable. Then, to Naruto's utter astonishment, the massive fox huffed what might have been a laugh. "Talking with a human child. How the mighty have fallen." But there was a note in his voice that hadn't been there before, something almost like reluctant amusement. "Very well, Naruto Uzumaki. We will talk. Occasionally. But do not expect me to become some tame pet, dispensing chakra and wisdom at your whim. Wouldn't dream of it." Naruto assured him, unable to suppress the grin spreading across his face. You're way too grumpy to be a pet. Before Kurama could retort, Naruto felt a tugging sensation. His physical body was being disturbed. Gotta go, he said quickly. But I'll be back. And thanks for showing me the truth. As the mindscape faded around him, Naruto could have sworn he heard Kurama mutter something that sounded suspiciously like insufferable brat. But there was no real heat in the words. Naruto opened his eyes to find Jiraiya kneeling before him, concern etched deeply into his lined face. Hey kid, the Toad Sage said softly. You had us worried. You've been in deep meditation for hours, and your chakra was fluctuating in strange ways. Naruto regarded his godfather silently, the hurt and betrayal still fresh, but tempered now by a new understanding of the complexities of that night 11 years ago. I saw them, he said finally. My parents. Through Kurama's eyes, Jiraiya's eyebrows shot up. Kurama, the Nine-Tails, Naruto clarified. That's his name, his. Jiraiya shook his head in astonishment. You're on a first-name basis with the Nine-Tails now? Naruto shrugged. Everyone deserves to be called by their name. A strange expression crossed Jiraiya's face. A mixture of pride, wonder, and something like fear. You really are something else, kid. Kushina would be laughing her head off right now, and Minato would be writing notes on interspecies chakra dynamics. At the mention of his parents, Naruto's expression softened. Tell me about them. Not as the Hokage and the Jinchuriki. As people. As my mom and dad. Jiraiya settled beside him, his large frame dwarfing Naruto's smaller one. The setting sun painted the heart of the forest in swaths of amber and gold, highlighting the silver in Jiraiya's wild mane and the intensity in his dark eyes as he gazed up at the canopy, gathering his thoughts. Your mother, he began, a smile spreading across his face, was the most terrifying woman I've ever met. Hair like living flame, a temper to match, and a right hook that could send a man through 3 walls. Naruto leaned forward eagerly, drinking in every word, every detail of the woman who had carried him for 9 months, whose blood ran in his veins. The first time I met her, she called me a perverted old toad and threatened to seal my lips shut if I corrupted her precious Minato. Jiraiya chuckled, the sound rich with memory. I knew right then that my student had found his perfect match, someone who saw past the Namake's genius, past the yellow flash reputation, straight to the slightly awkward, deeply kind man beneath. What did she look like? Naruto pressed, trying to form a clearer image than the flash he'd glimpsed through Kurama's memory. I mean, besides the red hair, like you, Jiraiya said simply. Same face shape. Same wide grin that could light up a room. Same absolute refusal to ever back down. His voice softened. But her eyes were different, violet, and always full of mischief. And when she was angry, oh boy, her hair would actually rise up into 9 segments, like tails. The villagers called her the red-hot habanero. Naruto bit his lip, absorbing this. And my dad, was he really as amazing as everyone says? A shadow passed over Jiraiya's face. Better. Not because he was the perfect ninja, though he was damn close, but because he never lost his humanity. Even in war, even facing enemies who would have slaughtered everyone he loved, Minato sought understanding before victory. The Toad Sage picked up a smooth stone, turning it over in his large hands. He created the Rasengan email. Spent 3 years perfecting it. I could never master it the way he did. The control required was beyond even my capabilities. Could you teach me? Naruto asked suddenly, his eyes blazing with determination. The Rasengan, I mean. I want to learn it. Jiraiya studied him for a long moment, then nodded. I think your father would like that. But it won't be easy, especially not at your age. I'm not afraid of hard work, Naruto declared, puffing out his chest. I've been training with cranky old toads for 3 years. I can handle anything you throw at me. Pervy sage, Jiraiya's booming laugh echoed through the clearing. There's that Kushina spirit. His expression turned more serious. Listen, kid, about not telling you sooner. I get it. Naruto interrupted, surprising them both. I mean, I'm still mad, but I understand better now. After seeing what happened that night, how someone was targeting my parents, targeting me. He trailed off, then squared his shoulders. But no more secrets, okay? I've had enough of those to last a lifetime, Jiraiya nodded solemnly. No more secrets. Which means there's something else you should know. He hesitated, searching for the right words. Your parents weren't just powerful ninja. They were also, well, pretty famous. Your father especially. He made a lot of enemies, particularly in Iwabikure. Because of the war? Because he single-handedly devastated their forces. Jiraiya confirmed. He killed 1,000 IWA ninja in a single battle, earned his Yellow Flash moniker that day. That kind of history doesn't fade quickly, even across generations. Understanding dawned in Naruto's eyes. So that's why nobody told me. If people knew I was the fourth son, you'd have had a target on your back from day one. Jiraiya finished. Though to be honest, being the Nine Tails Jinchuriki already painted a pretty big bullseye on you. Naruto absorbed this, his expression thoughtful. So when I go back to Konoha, when? Jiraiya echoed, one eyebrow raised. Not if. A determined smile spread across Naruto's face. I'm going back someday. I still want to be Hokage, to protect everyone the way my parents tried to do. But now I have an even better reason. His eyes flashed, reflecting the dying sunlight. I'm going to change how people see Jinchuriki. I'm going to show them that Kurama and I aren't just weapons or monsters. We're something new, something better. Jiraiya stared at the boy before him. This strange, irrepressible child who spoke of cooperation with tailed beasts as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Who had mastered sage techniques that grown men struggled with. Who carried the legacy of Konoha's greatest hero and its most vibrant kunoichi in his blood, along with the chakra of the world's most fearsome demon. Naruto Uzumaki, he said softly. I think you just might change everything. Naruto grinned, the expression pure Kushina in its ferocity. Believe it, the forests surrounding Konoha were lush with late summer growth, alive with the hum of cicadas and the rustling of wildlife. Dappled sunlight played across the path leading to the village's great gates, which stood open in the midday heat, a welcoming maw to travelers and returning ninja alike. Four figures approached the gates, 3 human, 1 decidedly not. The 2 taller humans flanked a shorter one, their postures protective despite the ease in their strides. The 4th member of their group, a toad the size of a large dog, hopped alongside them, scanning the surroundings with alert golden eyes. Nervous, kid? Jiraiya asked, glancing down at his 13-year-old godson. Naruto Uzumaki shook his head, though the tightness around his mouth belied his casual stance. Nah. Just weird, you know? Being back after 5 years. 5 years of intensive training. First on Mount Maiboku with the toads, then traveling the elemental nations with Jiraiya, perfecting his techniques and expanding his worldview far beyond what a typical Konoha genin would experience. 5 years of growth, of hardship, of discovery. 5 years becoming something unprecedented in the ninja world. A perfect sage, a cooperative Jinchuriki, a shinobi whose power already rivaled many jonin despite never having officially earned even the rank of genin. The village has changed, noted the 3rd human in their group. Tsunade Senju, legendary medical ninja, one of the Sannin, and Naruto's newest teacher. Though not as much as you have, brat. Naruto flashed her a grin, tugging at the long, flame-hemmed sage cloak that hung over his usual attire of black pants and an orange and black jacket. Think they'll recognize me, with that hair and those whisker marks? In a heartbeat, Jiraiya snorted. But they won't know what to make of you, that's for sure. Good, Naruto declared, his blue eyes gleaming with mischief. I like keeping people on their toes. Gamakichi, the toad accompanying them, huffed out a laugh. That's an understatement. You live to cause chaos, Naruto. They bantered easily, the product of years spent in each other's company. Jiraiya and Tsunade's decision to take joint responsibility for Naruto's training had initially shocked the ninja world. The 2 Sannin had barely spoken in decades. But something about the blonde Jinchuriki had bridged the gulf between them, drawing Tsunade out of her self-imposed exile, rekindling her will to teach and to heal. As they approached the gate, the 2 eternal sentinels, Izumo and Kotetsu, snapped to attention, their eyes widening as they recognized the approaching Senin. Lord Jiraiya! Lady Tsunade! Izumo called, disbelief coloring his voice. We weren't expecting. His words died as his gaze landed on Naruto, recognition dawning slowly. Wait, is that Naruto Uzumaki, returning from extended training, as authorized by the third Hokage? Jiraiya announced formally, though a grin tugged at his lips. Along with his teachers and his summon, Kotetsu gaped openly. Naruto? But you've been gone for. Everyone thought you were dead? Naruto suggested helpfully, clearly enjoying their shock. Kidnapped? Running wild with a pack of wolves? Something like that. Izumo admitted, eyeing the confident, clearly powerful young man before him. Gone was the scrawny prankster who had terrorized the village with his antics. In his place stood a shinobi whose very presence seemed to hum with barely contained energy, whose eyes held a depth and wisdom utterly at odds with his 13 years. Well, I'm back now, Naruto declared cheerfully. And I'm ready to become a real Konoha ninja. Tsunade's perfectly manicured hand landed on his shoulder, squeezing in gentle warning. One step at a time, kid. First, we meet with the Hokage. Right. Naruto agreed, though the gleam in his eyes suggested his mind was already racing far ahead, envisioning his triumphant integration into the ninja ranks, no doubt with maximum dramatic effect. As they passed through the gates, civilians and ninja alike stopped to stare. The sudden appearance of not one but two of the legendary Sannin would have been enough to cause a stir. But it was the young blonde between them who drew the most curious looks. Whispers followed in their wake. Is that really him? The demon brat? Where has he been all this time? Why are Lady Tsunade and Lord Jiraiya with him? Naruto caught every murmur, his hearing sharpened by years of sage training. But where once such comments would have cut deep, now they merely slid off him like water from a duck's back. He'd found his place in the world, not just as Konoha's Jinchuriki, but as a sage, as the son of heroes, as a shinobi with his own unique path to follow. They're afraid, he observed quietly to Gamakichi. Not just of me. Of what I might have become, the toad rumbled his agreement. Fear is the natural response to the unknown. And you, my friend, are very much an unknown variable in this village now. A flash of movement at the corner of his vision caught Naruto's attention. Silver hair, a masked face, a single exposed eye widening in shock. Kakashi Hatake, frozen in the middle of the street, his notorious orange book dangling forgotten from slack fingers as he stared at the procession. Naruto grinned and waved enthusiastically. Yo, Kakashi-sensei! Long time no see. The copy nin blinked his one visible eye, then vanished in a swirl of leaves, no doubt racing to inform the Hokage of the unexpected arrivals. You know him? Tsunade asked, one elegant eyebrow raised. Not really, Naruto admitted. But I remember him from when I was little. He used to watch me sometimes, when he thought I didn't notice. Always in that creepy dog mask. Jiraiya exchanged a meaningful look with Tsunade. Kakashi was your father's student, he explained. One of the few who knew your heritage from the beginning. He was also assigned to your ANBU guard rotation, Tsunade added. Though technically you weren't supposed to be aware of that, Naruto shrugged. I've always been good at noticing things people don't want me to see. A mischievous grin spread across his face. Speaking of which, we're being followed. 7 ANBU, trying really hard to be stealthy, Jiraiya chuckled. Only 7? I'm insulted. In my day, they'd have sent at least a dozen for a potential security threat of this magnitude. Budget cuts. Tsunade sighed dramatically. The village hasn't been the same since I left. They continued their easy banter as they made their way toward the Hokage Tower. But Naruto's attention was increasingly caught by the village itself, both familiar and strange after so long away. The basic layout remained the same, but there were new buildings, new faces, a subtly different energy than the one he remembered. As they turned the corner near the academy, a commotion erupted ahead. A group of young ninja, approximately Naruto's age, emerging from what appeared to be a training session. I'm telling you, Sasuke, that last move was totally unfair, protested a loud boy with red facial markings, a small white dog perched atop his head. You can't just use those freaky eyes whenever you start losing, HN. came the unimpressed response from a dark-haired boy whose very posture screamed Uchiha. It's not my fault you're too slow to counter, Kiba. Both of you are being troublesome. Sighed a third boy, this one with his hair pulled up in a spiky ponytail. It's just practice. Practice is important though, stammered a quiet girl with distinctive pale eyes. We should all try our best. Exactly, declared a pink-haired kunoichi, her fist raised emphatically. And Sasuke-kun always gives 100%, which is why he's the best. The Uchiha, Sasuke, merely grunted again, though a shadow of a smirk crossed his face at the praise. Then, as if sensing the weight of observation, his head snapped up, dark eyes meeting Naruto's blue ones across the distance. For a moment, something electric passed between them. Recognition without familiarity. A sense of potential rivalry so powerful it was almost tangible. Then Sasuke's gaze moved on, taking in the rest of Naruto's unusual entourage, his expression shifting from indifference to shock as he recognized the two Sannin. The entire group of young ninja fell silent, staring openly at the newcomers. Well, Jiraiya muttered under his breath. Looks like you found your peer group, kid. Naruto studied them with undisguised interest. These genin who had grown up alongside him in Konoha, who had attended the academy while he was learning sage arts on Mount Myaboku, who had become ninja through the traditional path that had been denied to him by circumstance and destiny. My classmates, he murmured, a complicated mix of emotions washing over him. Or, who would have been my classmates, I guess, before he could decide whether to approach them. A new voice cut through the tension. Naruto? Naruto Uzumaki? Is that really you? Irika Yumino stood frozen in the academy doorway, his scarred face a mask of disbelief and budding joy. He was older than Naruto remembered, a few more lines around his eyes, a slightly wearier set to his shoulders. But the genuine warmth in his expression was exactly as Naruto recalled from the few adults who had shown him kindness during his brief childhood in Konoha. Irika-sensei! Naruto exclaimed, genuine pleasure suffusing his voice. Without conscious thought, he darted forward with sage-enhanced speed that made him little more than an orange-tinged blur to regular eyes. In an instant, he stood before his former teacher, beaming up at the man who had once bought him ramen when no one else would acknowledge his existence. Irika blinked, momentarily taken aback by the display of sheer speed from the boy he had last seen as a struggling 8-year-old. You, how did you? He shook his head, visibly gathering himself. You've grown so much! Where have you been all this time? The Hokage told us you were on a special training journey, but 5 years, it's a long story. Naruto said, rubbing the back of his neck sheepishly. Involving talking toads, sage chakra, and a lot of meditating. I can tell you all about it over ramen sometime? If Ichiraka's still around, Irika laughed, the sound warm with relief and genuine affection. Of course it is. And Tucci and I ask about you all the time. He hesitated, then reached out and ruffled Naruto's spiky blonde hair. A gesture that would have annoyed most teenagers but that Naruto leaned into like a touch-starved kitten. I'm glad you're back, Naruto. The village hasn't been the same without you. Troublesome, muttered the boy with the ponytail, loud enough to be heard. So that's the famous Naruto Uzumaki? The one who disappeared, famous? Naruto perked up, turning to face the group of genin who were still openly staring. You guys know about me? Everyone knows about you. The pink-haired girl said, her tone suggesting this wasn't necessarily a compliment. You're the one who vanished from the village when we were 8. There were ANBU searching everywhere, and then the Hokage announced you'd gone on some special training mission. Her green eyes narrowed suspiciously. With the legendary Sannin, apparently, Sakura, Irika cautioned. Naruto's situation was unique. I'm sure the Hokage will explain everything in due time. Actually, Jiraiya interjected, stepping forward with the casual confidence of a man accustomed to being the center of attention. That's where we're headed right now. Though I'm sure Naruto would appreciate the chance to get to know his peers later. He eyed the group thoughtfully, his gaze lingering on the Uchiha. Quite the promising bunch you've got here, Irika. The best of their generation. Irika agreed, pride evident in his voice. They've all made tremendous progress since graduating. Naruto's eyes lit up. So you're all genin already? That's awesome. What kind of missions have you done? Any cool fights? Can you show me your techniques? The barrage of enthusiastic questions seemed to catch the young ninja off guard, their reactions ranging from Kiba's answering grin to Sasuke's deepening scowl. We've completed a B-rank mission, the Uchiha finally stated, a challenge in his dark eyes. Encountered and defeated a missing nin from Kirigakure. What about you? Or have you just been hiding in safety for 5 years? Sasuke! Iruka admonished sharply, but Naruto merely grinned, unfazed by the provocation. I've been training with the Toad Sages of Mount Mayaboku and 2 of the legendary Sannin. His eyes gleamed with good-natured competitiveness. I think I've kept busy. Sasuke's eyes narrowed, clearly sensing something in Naruto that the others missed. A depth of power, a quiet confidence that went beyond mere boasting. For a moment, it seemed like he might demand a demonstration then and there. As fascinating as this playground posturing is, Tsunade cut in dryly. We do have an appointment with my old sensei. Come along, brat. She placed a guiding hand on Naruto's shoulder, firmly steering him away from what was rapidly developing into a testosterone-fueled standoff. Wait, called the boy with the ponytail. Shikamaru, Naruto would later learn. That cloak you're wearing, those markings, what exactly are you? Naruto paused, glancing back over his shoulder. A slow, fox-like grin spread across his face, revealing slightly elongated canines. I'm a sage, he said simply, and a Jinchuriki, and your future Hokage. Remember that. With that parting declaration, he allowed Tsunade to steer him away, leaving behind a group of thoroughly bewildered genin and one proudly beaming academy teacher. Way to make an impression. Gamakichi croaked, hopping alongside them. Subtle as a paper bomb, as always. Why be subtle when being awesome is so much more fun? Naruto shot back, practically bouncing with excitement. Did you see their faces? Especially that Sasuke guy? He was totally sizing me up, the Uchiha. Jiraiya murmured thoughtfully. Last of his clan, aside from his rogue brother. A prodigy by all accounts, but carrying a darkness inside him that could prove problematic. Naruto's expression sobered. I felt it. Something cold. Angry. Like he's wrapped himself in hatred and can't see a way out. Perceptive. Tsunade acknowledged, impressed despite herself. Your empathic abilities have grown stronger. Side effect of sage training. Naruto explained with a shrug. I can sense emotions now, especially strong ones. And that guy? He's like a walking storm of rage and grief. They climbed the steps of the Hokage Tower in thoughtful silence, each processing their return to Konoha in their own way. For Jiraiya, it was the familiar rhythms of a village he'd both loved and avoided for decades. For Tsunade, it was confronting ghosts of painful memories around every corner. For Naruto, it was a surreal homecoming to a place that had never truly been home. The administrative assistants scrambled out of their way as they approached the Hokage's office, wide-eyed at the sight of 2 Sannin flanking a golden-haired boy with unprecedented confidence radiating from every pore. No one quite dared to stop them as Jiraiya threw open the door without knocking. Guess who's back, old man? He bellowed. Hiruzen Sarutobi looked up from his perpetual mountain of paperwork, his aged face lighting up with genuine joy. The years had carved deeper lines around his eyes, added more weight to his shoulders, but the sharp intelligence in his gaze remained undimmed. Naruto, he breathed, rising from his chair with surprising agility for a man his age. At last, Naruto froze in the doorway, a tangle of emotions catching in his throat. Fondness for the grandfather figure who had been his only real connection in the village, resentment for the secrets kept from him, gratitude for the chance he'd been given to find his true path. Hey, old man Hokage, he managed, his usual exuberance momentarily subdued. You got even older while I was gone, Hiruzen chuckled, moving around his desk. And you have grown in ways I could scarcely have imagined. His keen gaze took in everything. The sage cloak, the confident posture, the depth of wisdom in those blue eyes that had once held only mischief and pain. My. The toads have certainly wrought quite a transformation. Not just the toads, Tsunade interjected dryly. I've beaten some medical knowledge into that thick skull of his, too, and I've taught him everything I know about sealing and intelligence gathering. Jiraiya added, puffing up with pride. Well, almost everything. Kept back a few tricks to maintain my mysterious appeal. You mean you couldn't figure out how to explain them? Tsunade muttered, earning a wounded look from her fellow Sannin. Naruto rolled his eyes at their familiar bickering. They're always like this, he explained to Hiruzen, whose eyes twinkled with amusement. But yeah, I've learned a ton. I'm basically awesome now. The cockiness in his declaration was undercut by the genuine warmth of his smile. That same irrepressible spirit that had always defined him, now tempered and focused rather than scattered and desperate. Show him, Jiraiya urged, practically bouncing with anticipation. Naruto needed no further encouragement. Drawing himself up, he formed a single hand seal, focusing his concentration. The transformation was instant and dramatic. A ripple of natural energy flowing through his chakra pathways. His eyes shifting from cerulean blue to molten gold with horizontal bar pupils. Orange pigmentation spreading around his eyes like a mask. Perfect sage mode, achieved in a heartbeat, without the stillness or preparation most sages required, maintained with the casual ease of breathing. Hiruzen's pipe dropped from slack fingers, clattering on his desk. Impossible, he whispered. At your age, even Jiraiya cannot. Told you he was something special. Jiraiya crowed, slapping Naruto on the back. And that's not all. Show him the other thing, kid. Naruto's golden eyes danced with barely suppressed excitement. He extended his right hand, palm up, and concentrated. Chakra swirled above his palm, gathering, condensing, spinning into a perfect sphere of raw power. A flawless Rasengan, executed one-handed, without shadow clones or assistance. I added a little sage chakra, Naruto explained, as the sphere in his palm took on a greenish tint. Makes it even more potent. Hiruzen sagged back against his desk, overwhelmed. Minato would be. He swallowed hard. Words fail me, my boy. Truly, Naruto let the Rasengan dissipate and released his sage mode, returning to his normal appearance. That's not even the coolest part, he said, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Want to meet my partner? Before Hiruzen could respond, a flicker of red chakra seeped from Naruto's skin, coalescing beside him into a semi-transparent form. A fox the size of a large wolf, 9 tails swaying behind it, intelligent crimson eyes regarding the Hokage with ancient wariness. Sarutobi, Kurama acknowledged, his deep voice resonating in their minds rather than the air. You've aged poorly, sweet sage. Hiruzen breathed, instinctively shifting into a defensive stance. How is this possible? Kurama and I have an understanding, Naruto explained, laying a calming hand on the fox's incorporeal head. He lends me his power. I give him freedom to manifest in this form. He's not fully present. Most of his chakra stays sealed within me, but his consciousness can project outside. Cool, right? Cool is not the word I would choose, Kurama grumbled, though he made no move to pull away from Naruto's touch. Undignified, perhaps. Unprecedented, certainly. A partial manifestation, Hiruzen murmured, slowly relaxing his stance as he processed the impossible scene before him. The seal allows this, we modified it. Jiraiya explained, his tone carefully neutral, though pride glimmered in his eyes. Or rather, Naruto did, with some guidance from me and insights from the 9, from Kurama himself. It's a cooperative arrangement now, rather than a prison. Hiruzen's sharp gaze moved between Jinchuriki and tailed beasts, noting the ease between them. Not friendship, exactly, but a mutual respect that defied everything the ninja world thought it knew about the relationship between human hosts and their captive demons. You continue to be the most unpredictable ninja I have ever encountered, Naruto Uzumaki, he finally said, a smile breaking through his astonishment. And you aren't even officially a ninja yet. That should be remedied, Kurama remarked unexpectedly. The kid has surpassed most of your jonin already. To label him a mere genin would be an insult to his abilities. Ah, are you bragging about me, Kurama? Naruto teased, his grin widening. Stating facts is not bragging, the fox retorted, giving the mental equivalent of an eye roll. I simply tire of your constant whining about wanting to be recognized. I don't whine, like a kid separated from its mother. Why you? Hiruzen cleared his throat, interrupting what was clearly a well-worn argument. Be that as it may, there are procedures to follow. Traditions that even exceptional cases such as yours must acknowledge. Naruto, the young sage, turned his attention back to the Hokage, a hint of challenge in his expression. I'm not taking some academy exam designed for kids, if that's what you're suggesting. I can create shadow clones that would make the entire graduating class look like civilians. No, nothing so basic, Hiruzen assured him. But your situation is unprecedented. You have been trained outside the village system, by masters of the highest caliber, yet have never officially served as a Konoha shinobi. He steepled his fingers thoughtfully. I suggest a demonstration, a supervised assessment of your skills against a jonin of my choosing. Naruto's eyes lit up at the challenge. Bring it on. I'll take down any jonin you throw at me. Careful, old man, Jiraiya cautioned, his tone light but his eyes serious. You might want to pick someone expendable. The kid doesn't always know his own strength, especially when he's showing off. Kurama huffed what might have been a laugh before his form shimmered and reabsorbed into Naruto. This should be entertaining, at least. His voice echoed in Naruto's mind. Try not to humiliate your opponent too thoroughly. We still need allies in this village. I know exactly who would be appropriate. Hiruzen said, a glint in his eye that made Naruto suspect the old man was enjoying this scenario far too much. Kakashi Hatake, the guy with the mask? Naruto confirmed, recalling their brief encounter in the street. My dad's student? Indeed. Hiruzen nodded. A prodigy in his own right, possessor of the Sharingan, and one of our most elite jonin. If anyone can provide a fair assessment of your abilities, it is Kakashi. Naruto practically vibrated with excitement. When do we start? Right now. I'm ready. Tomorrow, Hiruzen decided, glancing out the window at the late afternoon sun. At training ground 8 o'clock sharp. A faint smile touched his lips. Though knowing Kakashi, you'll have plenty of time to prepare before he actually arrives. The man has never been on time for anything in his life. Tsunade clarified, seeing Naruto's confusion. Except perhaps his own birth, and I'm not entirely convinced about that. A quirk of his, Hiruzen added diplomatically. Among many, Jiraiya clapped a hand on Naruto's shoulder. Well, that gives us time to get you settled. The old apartment still available? A shadow passed over Hiruzen's face. I regret to say it was damaged in a fire several years ago. But I've arranged new accommodations for Naruto, more suitable to his status. Status? Naruto echoed, bemused. What status? As the son of the fourth Hokage, Hiruzen said quietly. It's time Konoha acknowledged that legacy, along with your own remarkable achievements. Naruto's eyes widened. You mean everyone will know? About my parents? The time for secrets has passed. Hiruzen confirmed, his gaze steady. Your father had many enemies, it's true. But you are no longer a defenseless child, and the village must know who walks among them. A rare flash of steel entered his voice. They must know what they nearly lost through their fear and prejudice. A complex mixture of emotions passed over Naruto's expressive face. Vindication, anxiety, a fierce kind of pride. So I'll be Naruto Namake's now? Uzumaki Namake's if you wish, Hiruzen offered. Though your mother would likely insist on keeping her clan name prominent. She was rather adamant about such things. A grin spread across Naruto's face. Yeah, that sounds like her, from what Pervy Sage has told me. He straightened, a sudden resolution settling over him. Uzumaki Namake's it is. I want to honor them both. Then it's settled. Hiruzen declared, reaching into his desk drawer and withdrawing a set of keys and a sealed scroll. These are yours, the keys to the Namake's estate, which has been maintained in trust for you, and a letter from your father. He left several for various milestones in your life. This one was marked for your return to active service in Konoha. Naruto accepted both with uncharacteristic reverence, his usually animated face solemn. Thanks, old man, for keeping these safe. For everything. I only wish I could have done more. Hiruzen said softly, regret heavy in his voice. I failed you in many ways, Naruto. Perhaps this is the beginning of making amends, and understanding passed between them, acknowledge mistakes, Forgiveness offered and accepted. A new chapter beginning. Then Naruto's irrepressible grin returned. So this estate, it's big, right? Like important person big? With a training ground and stuff? Jiraiya laughed, ruffling his godson's hair. Trust you to focus on that. Come on, let's go see this place. I'm curious myself. Never got to visit Minato's home much. He was always too worried I'd corrupt him with my degenerate influence. A legitimate concern. Tsunade commented dryly. I'll expect a full report on your assessment tomorrow. Hiruzen called as they prepared to depart. And Naruto. The young sage paused, looking back expectantly. Welcome home, my boy. For the first time since entering the village gates, Naruto felt a swell of genuine belonging. Home. Not just a place he'd been born, but somewhere he might actually fit, might be recognized for who and what he truly was. Good to be back, old man, he replied, and meant it. The Namikaze estate stood on a secluded 5-acre plot at the eastern edge of Konoha, nestled against the forest wall. A high stone boundary marked its perimeter, inscribed with sealing formulae so complex that even Jiraiya murmured in appreciation. Your father's work, he explained as Naruto ran his fingers over the intricate patterns. He was a master like few others. These seals would recognize your chakra signature even if you'd never been here before. It's in your blood. Sure enough, when Naruto pressed his palm to the main gate, the seals flared with gentle blue light, and the heavy wooden doors swung inward silently, welcoming the heir of their creator. Beyond stretched a vision of serene beauty, a traditional Japanese garden with winding stone paths, carefully pruned trees, and a naturally flowing stream that wound through the property. Cherry trees lined the main approach to a sprawling 2-story house built in classic style, with sweeping eaves and polished wooden verandas. Whoa, Naruto breathed, taking it all in. This was really theirs? My parents lived here, briefly. Jiraiya confirmed, his own expression nostalgic. Minato purchased it shortly after becoming Hokage, with plans to raise a family away from the bustle of the village center. They had only moved in a few months before you were born. Tsunade placed a gentle hand on Naruto's shoulder, her touch uncharacteristically soft. It's been maintained by a caretaker all these years. Waiting for you. Naruto swallowed hard, blinking rapidly against the sudden moisture in his eyes. It's perfect, he whispered. Then, more loudly, as if needing to break the emotional tension. Race you to the house, pervy sage. He took off down the stone path in a blur of orange and black, his laughter floating back to the two Sannin like a physical manifestation of joy. He recovers quickly, Tsunade observed, a smile softening her features. Always has. Jiraiya agreed fondly. It's his greatest strength, in many ways. The ability to absorb pain and transform it into determination, into forward motion. He sighed heavily. He'll need that resilience in the days to come. Not everyone will welcome his return with open arms. The Uchiha boy, Tsunade noted shrewdly. You're concerned about their interaction, among other things, Jiraiya admitted. Sasuke Uchiha has been the unchallenged prodigy of his generation until now. Naruto's sudden appearance, with abilities that frankly eclipse the Uchihas, could create complications. Boys will be boys, Tsunade said dismissively. A little rivalry might do them both good. It's not just that, Jiraiya insisted, his voice dropping even though Naruto was well out of earshot. I've heard rumors about Sasuke. About his obsession with killing his brother, with gaining power at any cost. And Orochimaru has been too quiet lately. Tsunade's expression darkened at the mention of their former teammate. You think he's targeting the Uchiha? I think a last surviving Sharingan user would be irresistible to him, Jiraiya confirmed grimly. And a vulnerable, revenge-fixated teenager would be the perfect vessel. They watched as Naruto reached the house and bounded up onto the veranda, eagerly peering through windows like a child on a treasure hunt. And now there's Naruto, Tsunade concluded, following Jiraiya's train of thought. Suddenly appearing with unprecedented power, the son of the fourth Hokage, a perfect sage and a cooperative Jinchuriki. The kind of shinobi Orochimaru would covet even more than an Uchiha. Exactly, Jiraiya nodded. Which is why we need to be on guard. Naruto can handle himself better than most shonen, but he still has blind spots. He's too trusting, too eager to see the best in everyone. A fond but worried smile creased his face. He gets that from Minato. Hurry up, you old fossils! Naruto shouted from the house. I can't get in without the key, and there's a ramen shop out there with my name on it. Tsunade chuckled, the sound warming the cool evening air. Come on! Let's not keep our impatient prodigy waiting. We can worry about Orochimaru tomorrow. As they made their way toward the house, either noticed the silent figure perched in a tree just outside the estate's boundary. A silver-haired, masked Jonin whose visible eye was fixed on Naruto with an intensity that spoke of complex emotions. Kakashi Hatake watched the son of his beloved sensei explore the house that should have been his childhood home, a bittersweet ache settling in his chest. Tomorrow, he would officially test the boy's abilities, would report his findings to the Hokage, would help determine Naruto's place in Konoha's ninja hierarchy. But tonight, he simply observed, wondering what Minato would think of the extraordinary young man his son had become, and whether he himself had failed both father and son by keeping his distance all these years. Looks like I've got some catching up to do, sensei. He murmured to the evening air before vanishing in a swirl of leaves, leaving no trace of his presence behind. Dawn painted training ground 7 in washes of pale gold, burning away the lingering mist that clung to the 3 wooden posts planted in its center. Birds called from the surrounding trees, their morning songs the only sound in the otherwise still clearing. Naruto arrived precisely at 7:45, having risen with the sun after a night spent exploring the Namake's estate. His estate now, though the thought still felt surreal. He'd fallen asleep in what had once been his parents' bedroom, surrounded by their possessions, their books, the lingering echoes of the life they should have shared. He hadn't opened his father's letter yet. Something in him wanted to save it, to have it as a talisman for after this assessment. A reward, or perhaps a consolation, depending on how things went. You're early, came a lazy drawl from the tree line. Eager to start, Naruto grinned, turning to face Kakashi, who leaned against a trunk with his ever-present orange book in hand. I thought you weren't supposed to show up for hours. Figured I'd get some meditation in first. Ah, well. Kakashi I smiled, snapping his book shut and tucking it away. I was curious about what a student of both Jiraiya and Tsunade might bring to the table. Thought I might observe your preparation techniques. Liar, Naruto said cheerfully. You wanted to see if I'd be late too, so you could lecture me about proper ninja conduct while being the worst example yourself. A startled blink was the only indication that Kakashi hadn't expected to be read so easily. My. They've taught you psychological assessment as well? Nah, that's all me. Naruto tapped his temple. I've always been good at figuring people out. Had to be, growing up. He trailed off, the unspoken as a Jinchuriki hanging between them. Kakashi nodded, understanding in his single visible eye. Fair enough. He pushed off from the tree, approaching with that distinctive slouch that somehow managed to convey both complete relaxation and coiled readiness. I suppose we should establish the parameters of this assessment. Bring it on, Naruto declared, bouncing slightly on the balls of his feet. Whatever you've got, I can handle it, I'm sure, Kakashi drawled, though his eye gleamed with interest. The Hokage has asked me to evaluate your skills in several key areas: ninjutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu resistance, tactical thinking, and chakra control. Based on my assessment, he'll determine your appropriate rank within Konoha's forces. So if I kick your butt, I could become a Jonin right off the bat? Naruto asked eagerly. Theoretically. Kakashi acknowledged, amusement coloring his tone. Though I wouldn't count on kicking my butt quite so easily, Naruto. Oh yeah? Naruto's grin turned challenging. Want to bet on it? If I win, you buy me all the ramen I can eat at Ichiraku's. If you win, He thought for a moment. I'll tell you the ending of that pervy book you're always reading. You've read the Ika Ika series? Kakashi asked, genuine surprise breaking through his carefully cultivated indifference. Pervy Sage is the author, Naruto explained with an eye roll. I've suffered through more drafts and revisions than I can count. Had to give him feedback and everything. Is this sexy enough, Naruto? Does this scene make sense, Naruto? Like I'm some kind of romance expert at 13. Kakashi's visible eye widened with something approaching reverence. You've read unpublished Aika manuscripts directly from Jiraiya-sama himself. Yeah, and trust me, they're even worse before his editor gets hold of them. Naruto shuddered dramatically. So, do we have a bet? Kakashi seemed to shake himself out of his literature-induced daze. I don't think betting on an official assessment is quite appropriate. Afraid you'll lose? Naruto taunted, his blue eyes dancing with challenge. A subtle shift in Kakashi's demeanor, a straightening of his spine, a sharpening in his gaze, indicated the taunt had hit its mark. Very well. You have yourself a bet, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. But don't say I didn't warn you. He reached up to his forehead protector, adjusting it to reveal his hidden left eye, the Sharingan, spinning lazily with 3 tomo against a crimson background. Naruto's expression brightened with genuine excitement. Oh wow, bringing out the big guns right away. This is gonna be fun. The Sharingan allows me to analyze and copy techniques. Kakashi explained, watching Naruto carefully for his reaction. It also gives me advantages in tracking high-speed movement and predicting attacks. I know. Naruto nodded. Pervy Sage made sure I understood all the major bloodline limits. The Uchiha's Sharingan, the Hyuga's Byakugan, the Nara's shadow techniques. He trailed off, noting Kakashi's surprise. What? You thought I spent 5 years just learning how to punch harder? Most shinobi your age are focused on mastering flashy jutsu, not studying bloodline theory. Kakashi observed. You continue to surprise me, Naruto. Good, Naruto declared. I like keeping people on their toes. He rolled his shoulders, loosening up. So how do we start this thing? You coming at me, or am I coming at you? Kakashi reached into his weapons pouch and withdrew 2 small bells, dangling them from his fingers. Your objective is to take these bells from me before noon. Use any means at your disposal. Ninjutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu, whatever you've got. Come at me with intent to kill, or you won't stand a chance. Naruto's brow furrowed. 2 bells? Is someone else joining this test?